Here's a truth that nobody wants to hear. You're probably going to lose money in the stock market for years before you start making consistent profits. Not because you're stupid, not because the market is rigged, but because trading and investing are skill that requires roughly 10,000 hours of dedicated practice to master.
That's right, 10,000 hours. The same amount of time it takes to become world-class at anything, from chess to surgery to playing the violin. Yet somehow, people think they can watch a few YouTube videos, read a couple of books, and suddenly beat professional investors who've been doing this for decades. Before we dive in, let me be clear. This is educational content only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video constitutes financial advice. Trading and investing carry significant risk, and you can lose money. Always do your own research and never invest money you can't afford to lose. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why the 10,000-hour rule applies to trading, what those hours should actually look like, the stages you'll go through on your journey from beginner to master, and most importantly, how to accelerate your learning without losing your entire account in the process. If you're hoping for a get-rich-quick scheme, this isn't it. But if you're willing to put in the work, I'm going to show you the roadmap that separates the 5% of traders who succeed from the 95% who fail. The question isn't whether you have the intelligence to succeed. It's whether you have the patience and discipline to put in the hours. Let's find out.
The concept of 10,000 hours comes from Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, where he studied everyone from Bill Gates to the Beatles and found that world-class expertise in any complex skill requires roughly 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. That's about 10 years if you're practicing 3 hours a day, or 5 years if you're doing it full-time. Now, some people will argue that the 10,000-hour rule has been debunked or oversimplified. They're partly right. The original research by Anders Ericsson showed that it's not just about raw hours, it's about deliberate practice. You can't just sit in front of a screen mindlessly clicking buttons for 10,000 hours and expect to become a master trader. But here's what the critics miss. Trading and investing are among the most complex skills you can possibly learn. You're competing against some of the smartest people on the planet, PhD mathematicians, former rocket scientists, institutional traders with unlimited resources and cutting-edge technology. If anything, 10,000 hours might be conservative. Think about what you're actually trying to do. Predict human behavior at scale, understand complex financial systems, manage risk across multiple time frames, control your emotions under pressure, interpret massive amounts of data, and make split-second decisions with real money on the line. This isn't like learning to play tennis where the rules stay consistent. The market is constantly evolving, and what worked last year might not work today. The average medical student spends about 10,000 to 15,000 hours in training before they're allowed to practice independently. Yet somehow, people think they should be able to trade profitably after watching a weekend seminar. The arrogance is breathtaking. Here's the reality. If you're not willing to treat trading like a serious profession that requires years of dedicated study and practice, you're basically gambling. And the house always wins when you're gambling.
The biggest mistake beginners make is confusing market exposure with learning. They think that simply being in the market, making trades, and watching their account go up and down counts as putting in their hours. It doesn't. That's like saying you're learning to play piano by randomly hitting keys for hours. You're not learning, you're just making noise. Worse, you're probably reinforcing bad habits that will take thousands of hours to unlearn later. Most people's first few years in the market look like this. They make some beginner's luck profits and think they've figured it out. Then they get overconfident, increase their position sizes, and get absolutely destroyed by a market move they didn't see coming. They either quit entirely or spend the next several years trying to get back to even, trading emotionally and digging themselves deeper into a hole. This isn't learning. This is expensive tuition to the market. And yes, you will pay tuition. Everyone does. The question is whether you're learning the right lessons while you're paying it. Another massive misconception is that trading is just about finding the right strategy or indicator. People spend thousands of hours backtesting systems, looking for the holy grail setup that will make them rich. But here's the thing. The strategy is maybe 20% of success in trading. The other 80% is psychology, risk management, and execution. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you can't control your emotions when you're down 10% on a position, if you don't have the discipline to take losses when you're wrong, if you can't stick to your rules when FOMO is screaming at you to chase a hot stock, you will fail. Period. The market doesn't care about your strategy. It cares about whether you can execute that strategy consistently under pressure, day after day, month after month, without letting emotions sabotage you.
Let me walk you through the 4 stages every trader goes through on their path to mastery. Understanding where you are in this journey is crucial because the lessons you need at each stage are completely different. Stage 1 is unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. This is where everyone starts. You're excited, optimistic, and confident that you'll be the exception to the rule. You might make some beginner's luck profits, which only reinforces your false confidence. This stage typically lasts 6 months to 2 years and ends with a significant loss that shatters your illusions. You might lose 30%, 50%, or even wipe out your entire account. This is actually a gift, though it doesn't feel like it. That devastating loss is your wake-up call. It's the market telling you that you have no idea what you're doing, and if you don't take this seriously, you're going to keep losing money. Most people quit at this stage. The few who don't move on to stage 2. Stage 2 is conscious incompetence. Now you know that you don't know. This is the most painful and longest stage, typically lasting 2 to 5 years. You're acutely aware of how much you don't understand. You start studying seriously, reading books, taking courses, analyzing your trades, working on your psychology. You have moments of success followed by crushing setbacks. This is where most of your 10,000 hours will be spent. You're making every mistake in the book, but now you're actually learning from them instead of just repeating them. You're developing pattern recognition. You're starting to understand market structure. You're learning what types of setups work for your personality and which ones don't. The frustration in this stage is intense because you can see what the right thing to do is, but you keep screwing it up anyway. You'll take profits too early on winners and hold losses too long. You'll overtrade when you should be patient and freeze up when you should be aggressive. But slowly, painfully, you're building your skill set. Stage 3 is conscious competence. You're consistently profitable, but it requires intense focus and discipline. You've put in maybe 5,000 to 7,000 hours at this point. You have a tested strategy that works for you. You can follow your rules most of the time. You understand your edge and where it comes from. You're making money consistently, but it's exhausting because every trade requires careful thought and emotional management. This stage might last another 2 to 3 years. You're a professional now, but you're still vulnerable to major mistakes when you get complacent or when market conditions change dramatically. You need checklists and strict routines to keep yourself on track. Stage 4 is unconscious competence. This is mastery. Trading becomes second nature. You've internalized the patterns, the risk management, the psychology. You can make decisions quickly and correctly without conscious thought because you've done it so many times that it's automatic. This is where the top 1% of traders operate, and it typically requires the full 10,000 hours or more to reach this level. At this stage, you're not just reacting to the market, you're seeing several moves ahead. You can read market sentiment. You know when to push your edge and when to step aside. You've been through multiple market cycles, and nothing surprises you anymore. You treat winning and losing trades exactly the same because you understand that both are just part of the process. Most importantly, you've accepted that the market is uncertain and unpredictable, and you're completely comfortable with that uncertainty. You're no longer trying to be right, you're just managing risk and letting your edge play out over hundreds or thousands of trades.
Now let's talk about what you should actually be doing during those 10,000 hours. Because remember, it's not just about time, it's about deliberate practice. Here's how to structure your learning to get the most value from every hour you invest. First 1,000 hours, foundation and education. Read everything. Study the classics, reminiscences of a stock operator, market wizards, trading in the zone. Learn technical analysis, fundamental analysis, market structure, order types, position sizing, risk management. Watch market hours even if you're not trading. Start to develop pattern recognition by reviewing thousands of charts. Keep a detailed journal of what you're learning and questions that come up. This phase is all about building your knowledge base. Don't rush to start trading with real money. Paper trade to learn the mechanics, but understand that paper trading can't teach you emotional control. Hours 1,000 to 3,000, live trading with small size. Now you start trading real money, but position size is so small that wins and losses don't significantly impact your emotions. If a $100 loss would stress you out, trade sizes where your max loss is $20. The goal here isn't to make money, it's to practice executing your strategy without emotional interference. Keep an obsessive trading journal. Record every trade with entry reasoning, exit reasoning, emotions felt, mistakes made, and lessons learned. Review this journal weekly. The patterns you identify in your mistakes will tell you exactly what you need to work on. This is where you'll learn your biggest lessons about yourself. You'll discover that you have a tendency to revenge trade after losses, or that you freeze up in volatile markets, or that you take profits way too early because you're scared of giving back gains. These insights are gold because now you can specifically work on these issues. Hours 3,000 to 7,000, refining your edge and psychology. You should be consistently profitable now, at least some months. Focus on improving your edge. What specific market conditions does your strategy work best in? What are the highest probability setups? Where do most of your profits come from, and where do most of your losses come from? Develop strict rules around your best setups. Create a pre-market routine. Build a system for managing open positions. Work intensively on psychology, meditation, visualization, mental rehearsal, whatever tools help you stay calm and focused under pressure. Study your biggest winners and biggest losers. Often, your biggest winners will share common characteristics that you can look for more of. Your biggest losers will reveal patterns of self-sabotage that you need to eliminate. Get feedback from better traders if possible. Join a community of serious traders. Watch videos of your own trading sessions and critique yourself like a coach reviewing game film. The level of self-awareness and honesty required at this stage is brutal but necessary.
Hours 7,000 to 10,000, mastery and adaptation. Now you're scaling up position sizes and managing larger accounts. You're dealing with new challenges, how to manage bigger positions, how to stay humble after big wins, how to adapt your strategy as markets evolve, how to handle drawdowns when they're measured in tens of thousands of dollars instead of hundreds. You're also giving back to the community, teaching others, which deepens your own understanding. You're studying market history and cycles. You're developing an intuitive feel for market sentiment that can't be taught. It can only be earned through years of observation. You're working on consistency. Can you be profitable quarter after quarter, year after year, through bull markets and bear markets? Real mastery isn't about one huge winning year. It's about steady, consistent returns over decades.
Here's what you need to understand. There are no shortcuts to 10,000 hours. None. Anyone selling you a secret system or a guaranteed method is either deluded or trying to scam you. The only way to compress the timeline is to practice more deliberately and learn from each hour more effectively. You can accelerate your learning by finding great mentors, joining serious trading communities, getting professional coaching, and being brutally honest with yourself about your mistakes. You can probably cut the timeline from 10 years to 5 or 6 years if you're full-time and hyper-focused. But you cannot skip the process. You cannot avoid the losses, the psychological pain, the humbling experiences that teach you respect for the market. These aren't obstacles to success, they're the path to success. Some people never reach mastery because they keep restarting the clock. They try day trading for a year, lose money, then switch to swing trading. Lose money there, switch to options, then crypto, then futures. Each time they switch approaches, they're starting over at hour zero. You need to pick a strategy that fits your personality and market conditions, then stick with it long enough to actually get good at it. The other way people waste their 10,000 hours is by not taking responsibility for their results. They blame the market, their broker, the algorithms, manipulation, bad luck, anything except themselves. If you're not learning from every loss and treating it as tuition for a lesson, you're just losing money for nothing. The market is the greatest teacher in the world, but it's a harsh teacher. It will keep teaching you the same lesson over and over with increasingly expensive tuition until you finally learn it. The question is, are you paying attention?
So here's the bottom line. If you're serious about trading and investing, prepare yourself mentally for a 5 to 10-year journey of dedicated learning and practice. That's not meant to discourage you. It's meant to set realistic expectations so you don't quit when things get hard. Start tracking your hours. Keep a detailed log of every hour you spend studying charts, reading books, paper trading, live trading, reviewing your journal, and working on psychology. Knowing where you are in your journey will help you stay motivated during the inevitable rough patches. Protect your capital while you're learning. Trade small enough that losses won't destroy you financially or emotionally. Think of your first few years as paying tuition to the market. Just make sure you're learning the lessons instead of just burning money. Find a community of serious traders who are on the same journey. Avoid the hype, the gamblers, and the people selling dreams. Surround yourself with people who treat trading as a serious profession, requiring years of dedication. Remember, this is educational content only. Trading and investing carry significant risks, and most people lose money. Always do your own research, never risk money you can't afford to lose, and consider consulting with qualified financial professionals before making investment decisions. The 10,000-hour journey is long and difficult, but it's also one of the most rewarding challenges you can undertake. You're not just learning to make money, you're learning discipline, emotional control, patience, analytical thinking, and self-awareness. These skills will serve you far beyond the markets. The question isn't whether you're smart enough to succeed. The question is, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to fail, learn, adapt, and keep going for years before you reach mastery? If the answer is yes, then welcome to the journey. Your 10,000 hours start now.